So,
I remember
we
this,
learn
Vikaji,
today.
the first day that you came into our office
Mhm.
and there was a young guy and you asked him, like, why do you use an iPhone? He almost had no answer.
The reason is they want to belong to a tribe. They will connect to a particular tribe. Companies don't buy. People do. If you sell features, that's not going to work. If you even sell value, that's also not going to work. Why would people listen to you? Because
My fellow founders, especially the ones who have been wearing the sales hat at every odd hour of the day and even in our sleep. I'm Sayanto, your friendly neighborhood product manager turned founder. It's been about 2 years for me trying to sell to almost anyone I've come across. Till about 6 months back, the biggest problem I faced was not knowing exactly where I was going wrong in conversations. And I probably managed to confuse myself even more with, those 90-page sales playbooks by gurus who claim themselves as gurus. That's where Suvikas ji came to the rescue. With jargon-free first principle-based sales, well, welcome to the first episode of Founder Meets Quota, where we learn about these fundamentals of sales from him. Now, it's very difficult to introduce Suvikas ji in a few sentences, but here's my take on it. So he's been a growth hacker in APAC as well as the US markets. He's been a quota crushing AE or a sales rep at Mintical. I have not come across a quarter when he has not had not crossed his quotas. He owned and 4x the marketing pipeline in Pascare. He was also before that the first product owner of Pubmatic, and these are only a few of the 15 plus stints that he must have covered in full time as well as consulting roles. Welcome, Suvikas ji.
hey, thank you, Sayanto. Thank you so much. And hey, everybody, lovely to be here and talking to you guys. Sayanta, you've been awfully nice and sweet about the introduction. I would just say that I have always worked like a founder. So the fun I've had has been working closely with the founding team in all the 10 odd startups I worked at. None of them my own. And I would love to call myself the kingmaker. Never the So yeah, let's dive right in to a subject that is extremely close to my heart. Is as you said, right? Fundamentals, simplicity. Selling is simple, but there's one key fundamental, one key first principle that B2B marketing and sales entirely misses. And that's our topic for today, which is Sales 101. If you allow me, I can share my screen right away.
Yeah, just
Uh,
before that, Suvikas ji, just for the audience. So what we've done for this podcast is that I've actually noted down some of the problems that we used to face before Suvikas ji came in, and created an agenda that would, you know, very closely resonate with the primary challenges that us as founders face. And we learn together with Sukashi.
that'll be fantastic. And on my side, I will make sure that I also talk about the so many disasters I've been through. So you'll not hear just things that worked out fine, maybe luckily, but also all those disasters that I probably stepped into. So one of the things that is extremely important for sales is that there's a lot of psychology and a lot of data behind sales. And today, let's focus on the first part, right? The part that B2B doesn't talk about. So, well, if B2B doesn't talk about, then who talks about it? B2C does, but instead of looking at selling, let's put ourselves in the shoes of the buyer. How do people buy? And all of you who are listening to the podcast, please think about what happens when you are buying. Okay.
And just one thing there, Sukashi, I think us
Yeah.
as founders often step into the shoes of buying more or have been on the shoes of buying and can relate to that very closely. So, yes, that analogy really helps.
Fantastic. And I'm asking you just to think about you as consumers. Because remember, when you are selling something, the other person who's the buyer is actually a consumer, right? So Dale Carnegie has said that people do things. Buying is one of them for their reasons, not your reasons, right? And then you have David Nova. You would absolutely, I think everybody would identify with the Taco Bell, the Pizza Huts, and the KFC of the world. And this guy was the chairman and CEO of Binance. This is a beautiful statement I always loved, that you can only understand their needs and desires by getting into them. And only then can you take them where you want. So I'll take it from here and move into the selling side. So what does Seth Godin say? One of the gurus of self feelings, self status, self connections. They're all saying the same thing. Do not sell tax. Now, think about this. Why do people buy? In India, that's like a 1 lakh rupee purchase, right? When there are 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 rupee phones, which do equally well. The reason is they want to belong to a tribe. They will connect to a particular tribe. When I wear a T-shirt, which could be a brand T-shirt, right? Which sports a logo over here. What am I trying to tell? Hey, I connect with people who wear Levi's, or Calvin Klein. There's no logic here. There's no logic in when we buy. So,
I remember
we
this,
learn to
Vikash,
live.
the first day that you came into our office
Mhm.
and there was a young guy, and you asked him, like, why do you use an iPhone? I think he almost had no answer, like, not a logical answer, at least.
And this is where B2B is entirely missing the picture, that companies don't buy, people do. So it's not that, so if you're selling to NVIDIA is not. There'll be certain people in NVIDIA, people who have their desires, people who feel the need to have a connection, who have a status that they think they have, and they belong to some tribe, right? So if you sell features, that's not going to work. If you even sell value, that's also not going to work. And then people are putting the blame on the channels. Oh, the email is not working, even though we are showing value in the email. No, you don't buy with value. You buy on emotions. You buy on connections. So how can you expect to sell on features or value, right? Let's go back to Seth Godin. So what is he saying for B2B founders? Stop pitching features functionality. That's clear. Now here's where, and I would bring another early stage, uh, uh, an early stage simple fundamental principle in. Uh, I would translate an MVP into the marketing language in this manner, that when you are pitching whatever, make sure that whatever you're doing matters a lot to a few people rather than mattering a little to too many, right? Uh, so spray and pray in functionality, spray and pray in marketing will not work. Start narrating how adopting your product has a buyer. You have to understand how you are either raising, protecting, or threatening their place in the herd. An example is, we will help you. If RevOps is your persona, we'll help you from being overlooked to a data heap. I was selling a lot to the L&D. Now, L&D team, it's a constant everywhere, right? And we are talking about globally top 10 pharma companies, for example. And the L&D team was considered cost center everywhere. And they always have an aspiration. They don't have a way out of how can they be also responsible for revenue. How can they have a seat at the revenue table? And that's what we linked our outcome to. We helped them link the value of our platform to helping them with a seat at the revenue table. So we raised their status in their own eyes. And as I said, yes, the rest just follows. That's what is needed. Literally, almost for each feature, you could think about, instead of feature functionality, look at the value. And from the value, actually, let me pause here. The best phrase I've heard is from the professor of one of my daughters. The phrase is, so what? Oh, we have this function. So what? Oh, it helps you understand this. So what? Oh, it makes salespeople better. So what? They become better revenue drivers, they get more revenue. So what? Well, it ties your efforts to revenue and gets you seat at the table. Boom. Now you've connected something you have to helping them change or belong to a status or win that they had not thought of, right? So I think that this is probably the biggest learning that B2B marketing and sales never picked from B2C. And I think if you read Seth Godin, this is marketing. There's one book, it's Seth Godin. This is marketing. Start with that. And yeah, and that's most of it.
Yeah, so Vikash, I think there's one thing about the last slide that really, catches our eyes. So we've been told multiple times that don't sell features, although as founders, again, they're just so heavily involved and so, tied up with what you're building. It's very difficult to move out of that. But a lot of people have, spoken about selling values. And now you actually bring in two more whys to it, right? Which kind of goes to the emotion of the person that you're selling to. I think that is a very different takeaway to the whole approach, where we can talk about their emotional wins. What is it that they're getting at the end of the day, maybe 2 hours away from work or like getting a higher status, as you spoke about. Very interesting there. And thank you for the example also, because L&D teams, I remember also, building product for. So they're actually not that celebrated a team as such, right? And if you can make them, contribute to the largest goal of a company, which is revenue, it makes so much more sense for them. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I mean, we were extremely high priced, and one of my uh, best examples where I did not win, I was told that our product was 12x the competitor. 12x, not 12%, not 120%, 12x the competitor. So definitely we were able to sell value because invariably most of the times we were selling at 3x, 4x any competitor's price. That's exactly the point, because if you don't understand that, if you don't, as George Novak, as Mr. Novak said from Yum Brands, if you don't get into the heads of the people, if you don't understand where they are, what are their emotions, and what tribe do they want to belong to, we will always be selling a better LMS to an L&D person, a better horse car, right? And yeah, as I said, right, one of the tidbits I would like to leave our listeners with is like sells to like. This is interesting. This is how you start connecting with people. Uh, this is a lot about your first time you meet somebody or you're talking to somebody. If you try to ensure that there's some commonality. So we do that a lot, right? We'll say, oh, we went to the same school. Oh, yeah, I see you working there. And my wife also works there. Those kind of things, right? What is the reason? You were just trying to align yourself to their some kind of their tribe, right? A school is a tribe, college is a tribe, a workplace is a tribe. The idea is, why would people listen to you? It's because people listen to people who are like them. Does that make sense, Sayanto?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a very valuable piece of takeaway, at least, um, away from also what we spoke about, because I think first thing you mentioned in one of our early meetings was like how strangers will never buy from you, right? Which is so true. Like, again, like another thing that comes to mind is that we tend to drive small talk without any agenda, or like it kind of also does not come to a person who is not in sales for the first time. So, but small talk actually has, or rather, we shouldn't call it small talk. I mean, it's more about getting acquainted with a person and making them your friend before you kind of try to persuade them or do anything of that sort. Um, you know, in a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that's a topic for one of the next podcast. As I mean, knowing somebody really well before the first call or before even you send an email to them, what we call Kundali, right? Extracted from Janu Kundali. Knowing them so well that you are able to find some connections. But yeah, that's we leave that as a topic for another podcast. Like sells like, if you want, anybody wants proof, it's a proof across the industry. Bulk of the software companies, as they grow, have largest percentage of customers from the tech industry. So it's
Right.
like selling to like. It's not just people, right? It's also literally a company.